These are fun, off-the-cuff discussions on movies and streaming series, both new and old.
Together, we'll attempt to bridge the gap between Hollywood industry insider and the casual viewer.
This is Alec.
And I'm Ben.
And you're listening to the Cinema A to B podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cinema A to B. Today we're going to discuss The Holdovers, 2023, directed by Alexander Payne, written by David Hemingson. Alec, it stars Paul Giamatti. What did you think?
I liked it. So this is one of those, how do I say it? There's nothing special about this film, right? So as I'm watching it, I enjoyed it. I did. It didn't feel long. There was parts of it I thought that could be cut, but there wasn't anything about this movie that I didn't feel like I haven't seen before and seen multiple times. The story, I mean, it's a nice story. I think Paul Giamatti is one of the most talented actors that we have, and he floats through this film effortlessly, like doesn't even feel like he's acting, feels like everyone else around him is acting, and he's just a real person in this film. But besides that, I don't feel there's many risks being taken. There's a couple fun things I think that they did with some of the shooting locations, with the actual cameras they used or the lenses or whatever, to make this kind of really feel actually like being shot in the time period. If it is like 1970, 1971 time frame. I really liked that. I did actually get to see this in the theater. It was a good viewing experience, but there was nothing in it that really made me go, this needed to be in the theater. Like I could have seen it streaming, which it is right now at the moment. But again, I walked out. I wasn't bored. I wasn't uninterested, but it definitely wasn't like, oh my goodness, this was great. Like this was fantastic. It was, and much like with a lot of Alexander Payne's stuff, I kind of, outside of maybe Sideways, I'm kind of like walk away going, okay, that's a film. And that's really what I got from this. So how about yourself?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I appreciated it. I streamed it on Peacock here at the house and, on the projector. And so I had something quasi cinematic experience. And yeah, it's a nice looking film. I don't know why they didn't shoot on film. It's shot on the Arri Alexa and then kind of degraded, mucked up, and grain added back in, and that might just be a financial choice because it's cheaper to shoot digitally. But it is a really nice looking image, and the performances are good. And yeah, Giamatti's great, but yeah, we have seen this before because frankly, his character doesn't feel that far removed from his character in Sideways. No,
not at all.
Like he really doesn't, and that's not a knock on Giamatti and his performance. I just think the character's written and it just feels really similar. And then the movie that I was like comparing it to, because I think there's just something with the whole private school thing and a character that doesn't really understand himself, and then kind of the codependency, was Rushmore. Mm-hmm. And I think Rushmore is a vastly better movie than this.
Oh yeah.
And this thing's getting all of the Oscars hype in the world. And I'm like, why? Now, this is a heavier, weightier film as far as the content in it, the subject matter, than Rushmore. Rushmore is a funnier film, but a lot of the same themes are present in Rushmore that are in this, and it's not just the private school thing. There's other themes of loss and finding yourself and kind of evolving as a human being that I just think Rushmore does better. And so I came away from it going, this doesn't feel as original as I think people want you to think it is.
Yeah.
Like it's getting this huge push in the Oscars, largely for Giamatti's performance, which I think is warranted. But I've watched this now and I'm going, there's no way he should win against Cillian.
No, absolutely
for Oppenheimer. Like, no way. Like, it just doesn't need to happen. But yeah, this sits at an 8.0 on IMDb. I think Rushmore is like a 7 or 7.1 or something like that. And they share some commonalities, and I'm like, some of this feels like a hype train to me. Like, it's a good film and I don't regret watching it for a second. and I was intrigued, and there was some emotional beats with character reveals of stuff that they're carrying with them that I was like, whoa, that you don't expect. But it largely kind of went where I thought it would go. It's fairly predictable in that way.
Very predictable. I mean, there's one or two beats where I was like, oh, okay, this is an interesting take on it. But again, like we said, this is something I've seen many, many times before. I mean, I also got lots of hints of like Dead Poet Society from it.
Yes, that was the other one.
And Dead Poet Society is so much better than this. And again, I'm not trying to knock, too badly of the acting, but that film had so much better acting. I mean, like, again, Paul Giamatti, I think, is amazing. I mean, he's an actor's actor. Like, pretty much every actor appreciates Paul Giamatti and just what he brings forth. But I'm going to say, from the most part, everyone else was, especially, I actually wasn't a big fan of Dominic's. So I felt a little forced, felt a little bit like he's trying to act the entire time. I'm sitting there kind of going, I don't really believe this, or I really feel like you're pushing for an emotion as opposed to just arriving at an emotion. Whereas Paul Giamatti just kind of like, it's just in the, like, he's just, this is me. I'm this character. I also got a lot of kind of, you mentioned his character in Sideways, 100%. I completely agree with you. I also got aspects of like his character in American Splendor, kind of that, like that little balance between the two. But definitely Sideways. I mean, obviously he's not huge into wine like he's in Sideways in this one. He's huge into ancient civilization in this one.
Well,
so like
other drink as well. Yeah. Which, man, my word, I don't think I've seen more bourbon consumed in a film than this, outside of maybe some Westerns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about Dominic Sessa. I enjoyed his performance, but you're right. There are some times where it feels a little heavy handed, but if you go, there's like, this is his only credit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he got discovered, and he's nominated for like BAFTAs and stuff. So maybe we're in the minority here on like,
well, apparently Paul knew him or had seen him in something or whatever. And he was the reason why he got maybe a stage or something. I don't know exact, but I know basically it was like, I'd read something that Paul had talked to Alexander Payne, was like, you should get this guy. But going back to the acting, the only other person that I really was actually quite happy with was Da'Vine Joy Randolph, who played the cook.
Yeah.
She was really, really good. The only other thing that I'd really seen her in was Only Murders in the Building, and where she plays very kind of straight laced, no nonsense. I mean, there's aspects of that here, but kind of to see her dealing with stuff and with things that were happening and all that stuff, like really showed a different range of emotions that I'd seen her before. And she did a really nice job of kind of pulling me in and getting me to care about her and to want to know more about her life and what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, it follows you've seen from the trailers, it's kind of a trio piece. It feels kind of forced at times, them trying to give like equal screen time to the three of them. Like there were a couple of places later in the movie I was like, we really probably should have intercut here. Like, and yeah, it's me critiquing the editing a little bit, and it's not like the editing's good, but there were a couple of places where they sat on scenes with like Randolph playing Mary.
Yep, I know.
They sat on a scene at her near the end for like a couple minutes, and I was like, this would make sense intercut with where like Giamatti is, or where, I don't know, it just felt like they were trying to kind of spread things out.
And especially since they do a montage with Dominic and Giamatti, like literally like 2 minutes later, like 2 or 3 minutes later of them. And I'm assuming it's kind of when they go on their trip or whatever that you're talking about. Yeah. Like had that been interspliced, showing both sides of them kind of throughout the days and do other stuff, would have been so much better. I can tell you another thing that would have worked better was it takes a long time to get to the threesome. Like it feels
really.
It feels way too long. Like
there's no threesomes in the movie.
There's no threesomes in the movie, but like it starts off as more people there, and I don't feel like there's much benefit to it. Like I understand some of it, but But I feel like
I think they didn't want to force that in at the beginning. I think they wanted to kind of pare it down, but over time.
But honestly, I think it would have been better because it felt like the movie didn't start until it's just the three of them. Like,
yeah, but they had to have that character get more and more frustrated. And I won't say who it is, but they just had to have them get more and more ticked off about the circumstances. And so they,
and I understand that.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a little forced and just unnecessary is what I kind of walked out thinking about it. Overall, and it's not that the dialogue was bad. It's not that the story beats were bad. It didn't feel necessary. It felt superfluous and just could have been cut that out, made this a linear film or shorten it, still have those moments. But I mean, that's a good quarter to a third of the film that we could have shortened down.
Yeah. I do appreciate the fact that, to my knowledge, I don't know that much of any of this was shot like on a soundstage anywhere.
Oh no, I think pretty much almost all of it was shot.
Yeah, it's all location, and it's a good decision. Like it's aided by the location, and there's really nice cutaways to that location too, of like at the school, like memorial stuff, and with like World War I, and like they really set the tone well of this really, this very prestigious, boarding school, basically, prep school. But yeah, I don't understand the hype. It's good, but this thing's getting hyped up like crazy for around award season. And occasionally, seems like every year there's at least one of these that just leaves me scratching my head. Like, who's getting paid to get this thing pushed? Because it doesn't make sense. Like, I've seen other things that are as good, if not better, that are, like you said, right in this vein. I mentioned Rushmore. You mentioned Dead Poets Society. It's like an amalgamation of Rushmore, Dead Poets Society, and Sideways.
Yep. 100%.
That's the pitch meeting. Like that's it. It's like, I've got a main character that's very similar to Sideways. The setting is Dead Poets Society / Rushmore. And we've got two characters very similar the way they interact in Rushmore with Bill Murray and Schwartzman. So it's like,
and honestly, the character arcs could be any Christmas movie as well. Like, I mean, you throw the old curmudgeon and the screw up together, and then see what happens. Like that's kind of, again, it doesn't. There's nothing new here, and I mean, obviously, most movies there's nothing new under the sun, but like, it doesn't do anything different enough or take as many risks to make it better I just wish it was funnier. Like pretty much all the funny moments made the trailer. Like there aren't that many in there. That there's a few, but it largely is a drama. There was at least a couple moments that I laughed, but it was definitely near the back half of the film. And I didn't see the trailer for this. So I literally just knew it was Paul Giamatti. And so I forget
which movie I saw in the theater that back in the fall that the trailer came on, and I was like, oh, Alexander Payne, like this looks promising. And they kind of suck you in with the whole retro look of it. And then even the beginning, the opening titles, you can hear like the scratch of the film. And so I was like, when that was running, I'm like, man, are they going to commit to like leaving that in throughout the whole movie? And I was like, no, this was it's just the credits are done in definitely the way movie credits would have looked in 70 or 71, which was kind of neat. Again,
they did all like the kind of the Warner Brother, the like opening scroll stuff, or even the copyright image kind of felt older. Like they definitely was like, this is something you could have found in your grandparents', movie collection or something that, you missed.
I'm just seeing this 8.0 and it's kind of bugging me.
It's definitely not. I mean, Paul Giamatti is a close personal friend of mine. I mean, we've worked together. So,
well, yeah, no, I mean, so half of that is true. Half of it is true. And I want listeners to guess which half of that do you think is true? Is Alec close personal friends with Paul Giamatti, or did they work together?
Yeah.
And the answer is,
well, we worked together, and by work together, I mean I was an extra on shoot when he did John Adams for the HBO miniseries or whatever.
And you almost made the cut too.
I almost made the cut. Yeah. I mean, technically you can see my shadow, but I wasn't playing the character that I was actually hired to play. I was playing just a real, just true extra.
And what was the scene that was cut? Was Tea Party?
Yeah, well, kind of like that, and then Tea Party stuff where I was playing one of the Sons of Liberty and dressed up as like when they dressed up as the Indians and they're running through to toss the tea off the ship, and that was a scene I was in with him, unfortunately, and that got
axed
nowhere. Yeah, got axed. He was really nice,
cutting room floor.
Everything I've heard and read about Paul Giamatti is that he's the nicest guy, and I'm going to be one of those people. Like, he was super awesome. I mean, like, it was just him. He was the main guy. He, would talk to us. He was nice to us, asking about us and stuff like that. And like not at all this pretentious or thought he was better than that. Like, truly just this kind of down to earth guy of like, this is what I'm doing. I'm having fun. How about you? Are you enjoying yourself? Like, they treating you well?
Yeah.
Which they weren't, but that's beside the point.
That's
a separate thing.
Oh.
But
no, that's cool. Those darn editors.
I mean,
they didn't know what they had there.
They didn't.
So yeah, the fact that this is a Best Picture nominee is bothering me. It's bothering me. I want to say it. And as much as I love Paul Giamatti, I don't think he deserves a nomination for this. Like, there was nothing in this that made me go, you know what? I could tell you there were several other movies with actors that I thought should have gotten a Best Picture, or I'm sorry, Best Actor nomination that over top of Paul Giamatti for this as well. And again, I have a soft spot ever since The Negotiator when I first saw him. And that I've liked him. I think he's fantastic. Yeah, and he's surprisingly, I mean, this is only his second nomination for an Academy Award. Yeah, I can't remember the other one. It was a supporting role, Cinderella Man. That's right. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't actually a leading one, but it was supporting role. No, he is. He's a fixture among the best. Mm-hmm. Hands down. I do like the way he has his character in this film, like, walk. Mm-hmm. Like, he's got a very specific gait that he develops for the character that I appreciated, that kind of made, like, he moves a specific way that isn't the way that another character played by Giamatti moves. And so that was like a nice touch. Like, he's definitely, you're right though, he makes it look easy. Yeah. And I know it's not, but the great ones do make it look pretty effortless. And that encompasses like everything. That's just not even acting. It's like, that's in sports too. Like, the great ones make it look super easy. Yeah. There aren't any other performances that are really jumping out. In fact, I do actually think that the guy that plays Teddy Kountze, this Brady Hepner, I actually liked him. like his character is pretty, he's just like the butt of a bunch of jokes and just a kind of a general pain in the butt, and was really good at it. But, he was. I really disliked his character, but appropriately. But yeah, there's a couple, there was one scene in here with like kind of the male female dynamic. Like, you think somebody's interested in you. And there was that moment that I was like, oh, ouch. Oof. Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Yeah. There's some like effectively gut punch moments in this. And I think those work. I don't know. Is this just like is it much more than a character study? Like, I don't know. It's really not. I mean, it's just kind of seeing these actors, see where they go, where their arcs change, see how they come together, how they split apart, those kind of stuff. The arcs are good. Yeah, but the arcs are pretty good. I mean, like, they got that part is done well for the most part, and the writing is fine too. Like, the dialogue is decent. Like, I'm not sitting here going, oh, that was terrible or whatever. I just don't think I found the journey that compelling. Maybe that's my problem, right? Like, I like where the characters start and I like where they end up. I don't find the journey to get there very, very compelling. A lot of people are going to watch this and be like, this is the most boring movie ever. I wouldn't go that far. I appreciated it, but it kind of, this films like these require a longer attention span for sure. I mean, this is, because you're right. This thing at some points just gets super lean where you're just talking about 2 or 3 characters operating.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I just recently watched another movie that was kind of a character piece, but there was no character arc. The characters did not change from beginning to end. It was really just dialogue. But yet that was so much more interesting than this film to me, even though these do have character arcs. And I think some of it is because it felt a little more different, even though it felt very enclosed. It was like pretty much two locations for most of it, outside of a couple flashbacks. But there was something, this push and pull, this like, where is this going kind of scenario, where this one is super predictable. Like I knew exactly where it pretty much was going, like we talked about, outside of like 1 or 2 points. And I think that's kind of the big issue with it, is just it's a movie we've seen before, and it doesn't do anything better than any of the others that we'd seen before.
I think I wanted more laughs. I'm a simpleton, Alec. I wanted some more moments of levity, and I felt like I had characters that could give me that. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like I had characters that could have been a lot funnier than they were, and everything was really dialed down. This is not nearly as funny a film as Sideways.
No.
I mean, Sideways is a comedy, like much more of a pure comedy than this. This is labeled as a comedy drama. It's a drama comedy. Like there's not that much in it I'll tell you what though, it's better than the movie I'm going to reference, but there's another movie that I saw within the last year or two that I had really big expectations for, that I just came away going, was that Licorice Pizza. Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had all these high hopes for it and just kind of came away like,
Yep.
Yeah. And now this one, I think I would go back to at some point, maybe, whereas the other film, no.
I mean, like, if I have to see this again, sure. But
somebody's going to barge into your house and
be like, watch it.
Tie you up and say, you got to watch the Holdovers. Yeah.
And if it was the Holdovers, I'd watch it. If it was Licorice Pizza, I probably would resist and be like, no, I probably like, let's stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I did like that the shooting style was more in tune with the late 60s, early 70s, like with the use of zooms and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They did a lot of fades.
There's some zooms and like where you have somebody walking towards you, towards the camera, and the camera will either zoom in as they come. And so it like emphasizes how close it is. He doesn't do a bunch of like steady. There's not a bunch of steady cam movement or anything like that in it. It's a lot of fixed positions, some zooms, lots of pans. It's a very heavier camera setup. But the color correction, the color grade on it is exquisite. Like, it's really good. It's pretty close to the way I think the film would have looked. The movie would have looked if it was shot on 35 millimeter film. I kind of wonder, why don't you just shoot it on film? Like, if you're this obsessed with making it period correct, then just shoot 35. Like, it's not that much more money, but Payne must shoot a lot of footage. Like, my guess is he shoots a lot of takes, because that usually the guys that don't shoot a lot of takes are the ones that are still shooting film. Yeah. Like Nolan and Tarantino still shoots film, and Spielberg, and those guys are not known for tons of takes. So Payne must like to shoot a lot of material. Yeah. Well, and the budget was only $70 million. And by only, I mean, I feel like that's a lot for this film. Does it look like $70 million? No. I mean, but like, that's hard to say, like, because obviously it looks older, but where did some of that budget go? Because I mean, obviously, I don't know, because the locations don't feel that expensive, but they could have been, you know. They could have been. There could have been a lot of money spending, turning certain other locations later into period correct with cars and stuff like that. Like, that gets expensive to try to do that, but that's not a lot of the film. A lot of the film is just kind of very set in these couple locations, you know. Yeah, we do a couple extra things, but that's a small part of the movie. I don't know if it's $70 million worth of cinema. Well, and it didn't make that. It's like it made $55 million worldwide box office. How is he making movies? Like, how are they doing this? I don't know. Who's financing this? I mean, Peacock. Is it Peacock? It's Comcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know actually if that is, I'm just joking that it was named one of the top 10 best films of 2023.
I'm going to bang my head against the microphone. I don't know about that.
No, I don't either.
Although people are probably gonna be like, well, if you don't know about that, then what are your top 10 films of 2023? I don't know, because I haven't seen them all. There's stuff from last year I still have yet to see. Yeah, if anybody thinks that all Alec and I do is sit around and do the podcast and go watch movies, you are gravely mistaken.
You're gravely mistaken.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I've the backlog of stuff I've still got to see from last year is I mean, it's not insane, but there's still several movies sitting out there that I've got to watch. So I can't even do a proper summary recap of 2023. I don't know if this is a top 10. I'm pretty sure I could find a way to put 10 films ahead of this. In the 11th spot, The Holdovers.
Yeah. Again, and this is not to say that I didn't like it. Again, I walked away, it was fine. It was I enjoyed it, but and so if you want to go see it, go see it. It's well done. It's just, it didn't wow me. It didn't do anything I hadn't seen before.
And that's not always a valid critique, but in this case, I think it is, because I felt like when it was being marketed, it was marketed as this really fresh, retro, angst-filled kind of comedy.
But if you're not going to do anything different or take any risks, you need to be better than what you're kind of going up against, what has already come before it. Like, you need to at least, go above and beyond what has come before to really kind of resonate. And this feels, like you said, like if it was like, hey, let's watch this kind of film, I'd much rather put Rushmore into the DVD player or put Dead Poet Society. I mean, heck, just the characters are more interesting there, and as much as like Paul Giamatti. But I mean, Bill Murray stuffing a kid in the basketball court is worth the price of admission just by itself.
Yes, it is.
He's
on the phone, on the cell phone, and then freaking throws that kid's shot right into the other yard.
Makes me happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that whole movie makes me happy.
I know it does.
And we will. We'll absolutely discuss Rushmore here on the podcast. No question.
But we're not talking about Rushmore today.
No. But it's going to draw fair comparisons. I'm not going to apologize for comparing that film. I don't always put butt up films next to each other and hold them against each other in a mirror kind of way. But in this case, it felt like, I think you're right. I feel the same way, that I'd seen so much of this before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Presented to me in different movies, and people are more than welcome to jump on our YouTube channel and tell us how wrong we are. That's fine.
Oh man. Well, final thoughts.
I mean, I would still tell people to give it a watch, even though we've kind of banged on it a little bit. I would still say, if you appreciate Giamatti, it's worth watching for his performance. You're not going to come away disappointed. You might come away a little bit underwhelmed in some areas, but I don't know. I didn't turn it off and go, oh, I wish I had that 2 hours and 13 minutes of my life back. I was glad I sat down and watched it. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of us banging on the Holdovers for 30 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but certainly not one of the top 10 films of 2023, at least for us, but
no.
Make your own judgment call. So.
And this is the beauty of this art form and this, the culture that we have. There's so much content out there. There's so many good things that sometimes you're going to come across stuff that just doesn't either resonate or is not great, but you can still appreciate it for other reasons and other things. And I think that's, we've talked about plenty of bad movies or plenty of okay movies in our, 20 plus years of talking about movies. So
yeah,
there gonna be more to come. So,
and this is not a bad film. It's just not, I don't want to classify it as great. That's all. That's all.
Thanks everybody.